Hello there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's your boy Carcino here, and let's go through it. Oh my goodness, there's been some crazy developments going on in this situation with Charlie Kirk's tragic passing. Things have transformed and created a new discovery. As I know you've seen the last time we went live and spoke on this, they were interviewing his roommate. By the way, don't forget to hit the like button coming through the door. I know some of you guys get late notifications and we keep getting cooking so fast. That's why we put a timer there. So hopefully people could get through. But during this interview process with his roommate, who just so happens to be trans, led to a lot of different discoveries. And a lot of things are popping up now. So we're going to get into that to give you guys a little bit of time to get in here. All right. We'll be right back. Drop the intro.
Hi, I'm Carcino.
Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
No one knows Carcino and none of these.
There's so much going on in the world, and I'm just giving my 2 cents on it. Go in and do a raid at someone's house, but you don't have an arrest warrant for them. All right. Now let's get to it. Now, after we learned about the tragedy that was it's almost a week now from what transpired. There's a lot of different situations that are developing. As they try to find a political angle to see if there's anything politically attached to what was going on. And they found out he lived with a trans person who the parents claim they were not in a relationship with, but they were living together as roommates. And they met online playing video games. As the roommate is cooperating with the federal government. Now, the roommate goes by the name of Lance Twiggs. Well, I guess that's the person's government name, is in the middle of a transformation. How you doing? Is in the midst Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, in the midst of a transformation to become a woman. So, in the midst of this transformation to become a woman, you're looking at a situation where in this switch that's been yeah, I know, right? But in this transformation though, that makes it pretty odd and pretty out there is the fact that it seems to align with a lot of things what they're trying to say, the reasoning, because of some of Charlie Kirk's views and comments that he made about the trans community and his beliefs. So now, because of his beliefs, this might have angered this person here. But according to the person's father, saying that he was a straight man, his son is a straight man, that was just his roommates, they're friends. Where some are saying they were in a relationship. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But you have conflicting reports on that side of it. Now let's get to some of the things that were being discussed in the manner. Tyler Robinson, according to the roommates, they said he hated the Christians, did not like the church, did not like their beliefs and their views. And they said Tyler only had these convictions only 2 years ago. So over the past 2 years, he's had this type of disdain, just his family says, comes almost out of nowhere, right? Like, why now would Charlie start having these thoughts that never was there before? He never really was political at all, except for in the past 2 years. Now, living with this roommate, she also states Charlie has become very angry in the past 2 years due to this conservative side and what they were doing. Had great angst against Charlie Kirk, mostly because of what he was saying in his debates on social media. Now, well, he's trying to transition, so whatever you want to call that. Now, moving on ahead, you have a Lucy-like thing going on where what you are seeming to appear, and they're trying to see if there's some sort of manipulation here because the parents believe this roommate is manipulating the situation. They admitted that their son suffers from a form of autism. And because he suffers from this form of autism, this has been a hindrance on his yes, there's been a hindrance on his thought patterns, the way he perceives everything as far as life, It's all taking a different turn. So they're trying to figure out there's any way this person here is like the Emperor and Tyler Robinson is Darth Vader and was manipulated by this Lance Twiggs and is following Lance Twiggs' beliefs about Charlie Kirk and his views. And that Tyler was only defending his buddy Lance, his roommate. And that Lance Twiggs was the mastermind pulling the strings behind the scenes. So you got two different side stories going on here. Now it's like, which one are you running with? My thing would be lock them both up. What the hell? Unless you find anything to corroborate the situation, the Lance Twiggs situation, since Lance is cooperating and you have one person that isn't cooperating, the roommate might be cleared of everything because he's not saying anything. The parents are talking. The lawyer will come in and do all the talking for Tyler Robinson. Well, they got bigger problems down the road. See, the Tyler Robinson situation is just the beginning. It's only going to get worse. There are multiple situations out there that they just have to deal with. And collectively, it doesn't seem ideal. At the present time, no, it doesn't seem ideal. Well, the Skittles crew is right back into the to effect. Now people are saying that that party took him out based on him making changes up on Israel. I haven't really heard him change up on Israel. Not really. But then again, I'm not somebody who followed Charlie Kirk like all over the place. Like in the last week, I've heard the most about Charlie Kirk's debates. People keep sending them to me. Well, one of the Koch brothers is dead, so the Koch brother probably sent them some money. Well, here's the thing: people keep talking about financials. Charlie Kirk's family will be fine financially. It's not the money is not everything. It's the other problems that they're faced with. Financially, they're fine. Mentally, are they going to be fine? Is all the things that happen mentally not going to have a lasting effect on them as a family? I think it will. I think it already has had a lasting effect. You got two young children that they have to now figure out. They got to figure out what they're doing now, how they're going to do it. Hmm. Well, no, I knew why they did what they had to, because if you had Turning Point, most people, they were trying to tell them like, hey, don't drop out of Turning Point, because Charlie's gone, you know, like it's still going strong. Don't. So she had to come out and make a statement, because most people might have just left because they was just there for Charlie. But again, you know how difficult that is? You think she want to go up there and talk to people right now? She's got two little kids to explain for the rest of their life why their father isn't there. For me to witness what that's like firsthand is a nightmare, you know? It's a nightmare. You're already dealing with the tragic passing of a loved one. Then, mm, from a tragic passing of a loved one to this. Pretty soon, there's nothing you can do about it. He said, let me get this straight. This straight. And he's gay. He defended his gay friend against someone radically against the LGBT. Let me just know if I'm right or wrong. Yeah, that's what they're putting out there. That this was just his roommate, and they just decided to room together. They were friends based on them gaming together online and end up moving in together. Then I guess Lance decided he's going to try to get a surgery to transform into a female. Well, the father believes that nope, his son is straight and he just suffers. The mom and all of that believes that this relationship is being manipulated by Lance Twigs, and that his influence on Tyler is what caused all this. Like he was the emperor pulling the strings, pushing the buttons. and that their son suffers from autism and can be easily influenced. He said, I believe it. I'm just telling you what the developments have been. So I'm just a messenger. No, I don't understand why you was going off, because your going off didn't have anything to really do with the case. You was just going off to be going off. What did we tell y'all? Tell us what? There's no political agenda by the left to push them to do what they did. You think the left said, hey, you know what would be a good idea? Let's send this guy in. Do we have a cell that's in Utah, a Republican state? No. The only state where it's legal to have multiple wives. We said the shooter wasn't a right winger. Well, that's where you're right and wrong. He was raised in a right wing house with a right wing family with right wing values. Everything about him was right wing. His whole family's Republican. He has not voted in the last two elections because he never really was involved politically in anything. He's only 22 years of age. But his family, everything about them is Republican. So the fact is, he still doesn't even belong to the Democratic Party. He hates Christians, according to the person that he's living with, claims that he hates Christians. He hates the situations that's been going on. That's fine. I'm just saying, he grew up in a Republican household. He's never claimed Democrat on anything. He never voted for the left. He never did anything for the left. So if he wanted to, he could have voted for Kamala Harris. He did not. He did not vote for the left. So to say, oh, he's gay, so he's left, that's the assumption that you're making. But the facts of the matter is, he did not declare a party. He hates Christians, according to his roommate, and he definitely hated conservatives. A lot of people that are not political don't like conservatives. Yeah, if you want to believe that. But if that's the facts, if what you just said, then Christians are not exclusive to Democrats, are they? Charlie was a Christian. Hmm. Well, that's the mentality. Well, the mental anguish that comes along with said scenarios, right? How many more times must we embark on it? Well, Tyler Robinson is still accused, no matter what, the reports say. You still got to go through a trial, so you still got to say he's accused. Uh-oh, the little tough dog's out. Oh. A lot of the things people see isn't what it really is, isn't what it truly is, in other words. one person's false reality or falsehood. Well, they do not and should not fall on those type of tropes. You should have people who are dedicating to putting the time in, making it worth the effort instead of making generalizations. This is what happens when you have so much division in a country that's built up on a toxic time bomb. Country is being built up on a toxic hate ball where there's so much tension based on laws that you don't pay attention to, but they affect all these other Americans who are very passionate about it. And when you're not trying to hear them, they take acts like this. Instead of, you know, using these as opportunities to make money as your end game. For black preachers to go out and conduct sermons to rip this man to shreds once he's deceased, it counteract what you claim you're about. Somebody sent me a video. They said Kwame Brown is praising a man talking down on Don Martin Luther King. I was like, I haven't seen it, but for anybody to say anything bad about Dr. King is crazy. That's crazy. I could never champion that, but I have not seen it, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the point was or anything. But in my opinion, there's no way anybody could talk bad about Dr. Wow, you see what they did? You see what they did? Tampering even with cell phones. You can tell there's a complete conspiracy. Oh, conspiracy, tampering. Mm-hmm. Lou, that's right. But when you fan the wave of toxic energy and you call it dialogue with misinformation, you're creating a toxic time bomb that no one wants to see go off. So everyone you know now is stuck in that reality. They can't escape the one that they're living in. It's a lot of psychos out here. And I mean psychos by the way they think. People are hyped up and overly charged by social media and the news. And because an election don't go their way, they did nothing in their power to try to swing it. So if Tyler Robinson was upset and did not like the conservatives' position, he didn't vote against it. He didn't vote at all. So it's hard to tie somebody to a community Absolutely. Once you choose violence, you've already lost. Once you choose violence, you have already lost. Because once you choose violence, that means you don't have the words to pretty much back up what you claim you believe. The other person has defeated you to the point where the only thing you could do is take a swing. Now, there's a million and one claims people can have in the situation. Not really. You'll be surprised how many people don't really care. Do I think that this Lance Twiggs is the mastermind? I truly don't have a definitive position on said subject. I would say that person probably committed or has some influence. Mm-hmm. Okay, there we have it. Ah. Ah. Now, let me put this phone on the charger. Now, woo.
which is pretty much the same fight, Lou. How many poor conservatives do you know? It's like being put in a situation where you can't win. Like I told someone who was conservative before, I said, hey, you're conservative, right? So explain to me any programs you have to increase revenue in poor and stricken communities. And they didn't have one. I'm like, have you ever had anything to do with poor, stricken communities as far as putting in revenue in those communities, etc.? No. As I told you, conservatives are in denial. Liberals are delusional. Liberals have all these beautiful dreams, but don't have a realistic plan on how to get there. And then the conservatives has no plans for you to do any of this stuff. Anytime something comes up that they need to do or said they were going to do, they change and pivot and denial and act like they don't hear or understand anything that you're saying. We should always respect Dr. King. Even if you didn't agree with his stance, we should all respect Dr. King. As Black men, Black women, period, people of color, like, we would not have these rights if it wasn't for Dr. King, period. So even if you were on the other side saying, I don't agree with how he did this and that, that man went down and marched down the street and let people beat him with rocks and sticks for justice, just for the rights to be a human being like everybody else. Normal, everyday rights that we were denied. That man could have stayed at home and said, man, F that. I ain't doing that. And guess what? Nobody would have said nothing. He'd have had money. He'd have been alive. He'd have been with his family. But to him, it was, what life am I living if I can't even be respected and treated as a human being? There are many of us, okay? And when you say many of us, that means Dr. King wasn't alone. There was many of us that took the route of saying, this is what we need to do. Well, when you want to do something, you do it. If you don't want to do something, you don't do it. It's just as simple as that. If people want change, the change will happen. But you can't do it without dialogue. No, you just never get to see from this side of the peninsula. Hmm. Well, when people do things, they want to make sure that they are on an even keel. Mm-mm. My thought patterns are different.
Because you said Trump would put Americans first and take them out of foreign conflicts. Should we see how that is going at the moment? Currently, Trump has just accepted a $400 million debt from Qatar, which we're assured is perfectly above board. Billions in arms are going to Saudi Arabia, which they're using to bomb and starve Yemeni children. Not sure how that's in the interest of the United States, but it might be in the interest of the $5.5 billion deal his failed sons are receiving. At the same time, this great president of peace has greenlit mass killings, not just in Yemen, but in Gaza, where he greenlit an invasion called Operation Gideon's Chariot, with the express aim of wiping out the Gazan population. You promised to put America first. Haven't you and your ilk sold America out?
No.
Well, I'm glad you have great intellectual substance and can answer. Because it's all the culture wars for you, isn't it? The second someone actually tells you what you're doing, which you just read.
Can you calm down a little bit? Like, just a little bit? Pounding the table, you're all over the place. No. You want me to go piece by piece? Or would you like me to talk slower?
I think you can.
Number one, Donald Trump is convening a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Joe Biden gave them armaments.
That's going well, isn't it?
It's going well. Can you not interrupt me?
Well.
I allowed you to talk uninterrupted.
You're famous for not interrupting.
I haven't interrupted a single person here today. Can I speak uninterrupted, actually? Okay. He is convening a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. I believe we will see an end to that war. Number two, he's actually talking to Iran and discouraging Israel to strike the interior of Iran, and has stopped many other international countries to do the same. Number three, can you give him credit for ending the Indian-Pakistan war?
Both of them said he didn't do that.
Well, hold on a second.
Let's go back.
No, that's important.
Russia, Ukraine.
Hold on, that's important.
Can I speak now?
Yes, but the Indian-Pakistan thing, you got to go deeper than that.
Let's go in order. Is a peace summit where the main person in question, Russia, doesn't show up, is that a success, Mr. Kirk?
I'm not even sure.
A success.
Well, again, these are ongoing negotiations, and it's a lot better than when your Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, went alongside our Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, to Istanbul and unnecessarily blew up a potential Russian peace deal, which has resulted in hundreds of thousands of dead Ukrainians, one of the great unnecessary wars of the modern era. Donald Trump believes in conversation and police through strength. He has been president for well over 120 to 130 days. And he has already ended a war between two nuclear conflicts of India, Pakistan. He has secured our own U.S. southern border while we were being invaded by foreign powers. And thirdly, he is brokering a potential settlement with Iran that will prevent a major escalation in the Middle East. And finally, it is very difficult, but I believe they'll get it done, that will finally see an end to the Russian-Ukrainian war.
I'm just going to disregard the enormous lies you just put out there about Russia and Ukraine. Okay. But do you really think leverage negotiations work if you cut off all your leverage and scream at one party in the Oval Office? Don't you think that has just emboldened Russia? Because look at the approach. Putin thinks so much of your glorious president, he can't even be asked to show up. You have elected or help elect somebody who is at best an idiot and at worst is deeply corrupt.
Okay, again, so Trump and Putin had a 2-hour phone call today. You'll acknowledge that's a good thing. The pursuit of peace can sometimes be a winding road, and it's a lot better than sending hundreds of billions of dollars further into the killing fields of eastern Ukraine, something that tragically both the UK government and the US government has been unnecessarily supporting for a couple of years. President Trump wants to see a brokerage, an ending of this settlement. I pray we can get it. It's very complicated because of the mess that Joe Biden left, which was an active kinetic war with a nuclear power sending American-made missiles into the interior of Russia. So President Trump has already ended a war. He's ended an invasion. He's only 130 days into this. And I believe we do not know. At this point, we are merely speculating, which I think we should not spend our time doing that, because eventually one of us will be right. I believe we'll be right, and I believe we'll see an end to this war.
Can we just talk about 100 billions worth of weapons? Because you dodged my question on what was going on in the Middle East, where Trump has just signed enormous arms contracts with Saudi Arabia and with Qatar. And I noticed you ignored the fact that this might have had anything to do with the blatant corruption going on through the Trump coin and going on through giving the very competent sons of Donald Trump billions of investment from Saudi Arabia and Qatar. This is something that is directly embroiling Americans into conflict, but is importantly killing many innocent people. Those nations have been known to terrorize innocent civilian populations. So if you're coming to me and you're objecting to America selling weaponry, why are you defending shilling for the Saudis?
Well, hold on. One is sending weaponry, one is purchasing. Secondly, you do know that the biggest purchase that was announced was commercial airliner, 737, $100 billion. We've heard of Qatar Airways. They purchased $100 billion of commercial airways. You are right, there were some weapons contracts. But I guess the question is, would you rather have Saudi Arabia buy weapons from America or China?
I'd rather they not have American weaponry at cut price rates.
See, I disagree.
Let's talk about Qatar for a second.
Okay, fine.
You mentioned Qatar. You've been talking a lot about Hamas and the evils of Hamas. Can I ask you, who's the main funder of Hamas?
Well, the Palestine. Well, the West actually funds Hamas.
Which state?
Well, Iran funds.
No. Also, where are the Hamas leaders?
And also Qatar funds Hamas. Yes. It is a combination of international relief organizations.
Is this a state we should have a $400 million jet with the President of the United States on it?
Hold on. First of all, it was not given to him personally. I understand the optics of it, but it was not given to him personally. It was given to the U.S. government. And under that standard, no U.S. government should ever receive any gifts from any foreign countries whatsoever. It's not given to him personally and not a violation of the.
And why is he trying to transfer it to his personal library? He is.
Actually, okay, again, he sent out
a
statement. This is way too in the weeds. If you want to keep on going, we can.
It's not actually, it's a fundamental moral principle.
Okay, so under that fundamental moral principle, then, can you acknowledge, though, that President Trump is getting more done in a less period of time than any president we've seen, while our prior president did not even know what year he got elected? Do you understand the contrast here?
Whataboutism again? I'm not a defender of Biden.
I'm not saying President Trump is far better than the predecessor.
You have to defend the person you spent millions to
I will defend every day of someone who ends an invasion.
That's all you do,
brings down the price of oil, who is revitalizing the American economy, who's brokering peace, who stopped the potential nuclear war, who is bringing Iran to the table and bringing Russia to the table, someone who does not want armed conflicts with the greatest powers of our time. I will defend that endlessly.
What are you defending? In a fantasy world of your own creation. So it's quite hard to engage with
that, but then disprove it.
Let's check on how Trump is doing in terms of diplomacy. Look, with the war in the Middle East, do you think it was a defensible decision to tell the Israelis you wanted Trump Gaza to agree for Israel to invade the Gaza Strip and to continue to murder thousands of innocent children and civilians in a pointless war. Is that in America's interest? Is that in humanity's
Well,
interest?
first of all, you should know something about Trump. There's something, if you haven't realized with Trump over the last 10 years, he is quite the social media user and uses hyperbolic language at times. But let me ask you, in the conflict of Israel versus Hamas, who's the good guy?
I believe both Hamas and the Israeli government are evil, but I think also that there is no justification.
Are they equally?
There is no justification for the murder and mutilation of thousands of innocent people and children.
Well, let's-
in a futile.
Let's zero in on it.
There is no justification, Mr. Kirk,
Hold on.
for invading hospitals, for bombing innocent populations, and dragging out a war which is damaging Israel and the West's security.
You've made that point, but
Well, it's not a point; it's a moral truth, isn't
okay,
it?
yeah. It was also a moral truth that the war started because 1,300 Jews were killed and 200 were taken hostage. And when you declare war on Israel, expect a firestorm in reaction. Let me finish, I let you talk. Israel had its holiest day of the calendar year besides Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, Samat Torah, the 50-year anniversary of the Six-Day War. On Shabbat, Hamas invaded Israel, deciding to go recklessly to music concerts, to homes, to kibbutzes, and taking 200 plus hostages. They knew what they were doing. In one of the most cloistered urban environments on the planet, 2 million people live in a place where it's impossible to wage war. Impossible, where they wear civilian clothing, they violate every tenet of the Geneva Convention, and the IDF, when they do something right, they get no credit. When they do life-saving surgeries of a Gazan child, they get no credit. When they drop leaflets, they get no credit. But when they happen to bomb a place where they are operating their military from, which we now know from third-party verified sources, hundreds of Hamas military operations are in mosques, schools, and hospitals. I'm sorry, the country where they were living in relative peace on October 6th, that all of a sudden we had a war and Hamas started the war. And I don't see people that were really upset about the 2 million Germans that were killed in World War II, civilians. A tragic truth of war is that civilians die. I don't like it and you don't like it. And they brought it upon themselves. The only operation and entity to blame is the leadership of Hamas, not the Israeli government, for fighting this defensive war after they were invaded.
I'm no defender of the terrible pogrom that was launched against Jews on that day. But the justification for the death of innocents cannot be an infinite cycle of bloodlust. It cannot be killing tens of thousands of innocent civilians with a war with no end in sight, people who were not complicit in those atrocities. It cannot be bombing hospitals which children use. It cannot be bombing hospitals in which cancer patients are dying and starving in there. The deaths that have been inflicted, nobody knows the true toll, but somewhere between 50 and 100,000 people lie dead under the rubble. And what is left for Gaza except for to continue to suffer under Hamas? Because it turns out Netanyahu's political strategy has not worked. It has entrenched Hamas within the territories. To be a suggesting that the price for an atrocity must be an infinite cycle of bloodlust, that innocent people and the young population must be killed to avenge some kind of providential Christ. How can you call yourself a Christian? Well, you just did.
I want to make sure we get our moral clarity straight before we proceed. No one likes what's happening in Gaza. No one with a heart or a soul or a mind likes when kids die. But you must understand who started the conflict so that you can end it correctly. And until Hamas brokers an unconditional surrender, of which they are unwilling to do, they could release the hostages and drop their weapons and their lives would be spared. Instead, they are using children of Gaza as cannon fodder, financed by the Iranian mullahs and dragging the entire world into this conflict. So I don't even know what we're debating at this point, other than I believe that Israel, I believe the facts, Israel was unconditionally attacked on October 7th. They're responding in kind. And I would just ask you a very simple moral question. How should Israel have responded?
Not with the blanket carpet bombing of the city, not with bombing hospitals. Of course, some kind of military operation might have been necessary, but not murder on this scale. There is no justification for what is happening with the enormous death toll that is being produced. I really cannot see how you come here and you have the gall to lecture us on Christian morality and then sit here and justify the murder of thousands of civilians. And is it working, Mr. Kirk? Is Hamas dismantled?
I've never said that.
You just did.
Well, no,
this is your whole
in
thing.
war, these are called casualties of a war.
We're going to need to stop bringing this
again.
close.
I'm not going to justify every military maneuver of a 100,000 person army. Instead, what I will do is I'll be clear that there is a good guy and there is a bad guy. I honestly,
isn't that the morality of a child?
Well, hold on. It's interesting you say that, because a child who knows that Israel is the good guy, Hamas is bad, has a lot more wisdom than a student like yourself at Cambridge University.
I will be glad that I will not have been somebody who has defended the genocide of the Palestinian people. And I think you will have to reckon one day that you have reckoned with.
Interesting. I want to close on this. So can you tell me what African country is currently ongoing a civil war?
Believe it or not, I know about Sudan because I'm not an idiot.
How about what Southeast Asian country has an ethnic cleansing going on right now?
Myanmar.
Good. And you have strong opinions on both sides?
Unlike you, I take an effort to be informed about foreign policy and to come to conclusions. You are a culture warrior. I believe when everything is done, Mr. Kirk, people will see you and the people you supported as corrupt, as selling the country out to the lowest bidder, and of doing irreparable damage to a country I'm sure we all deep down love.
The difference,
you will have to reckon with that.
Difference
Mr. Kirk.
is when.
Mic drop moment from the young Brit there. Absolutely phenomenal. It's so good to see Charlie Kirk really get.
Now, that's how you're supposed to battle. Now, that's how you have a debate. Both made their points. Both chose their patterns. But this is good. You're challenging people who are qualified to debate you. And there's nothing wrong with conversational dialogue. He was sensitive. Most of them are, because you're in a debate, and if you're passionate about it, if you're saying this is what I'm living my life by, you're going to want to defend it to its core. But when you can't admit that it's built up on a fabric of lies, and it's built around a foundation of shady dealings, the Qatar deal, which is shady at best, when Qatar basically finances Hamas. You're dealing with a whole different animal there, but we've gotten way off point. I'm just glad that you guys were able to, some of you were able to get notifications for this, and we'll continue later. I'm out.